What's up, everybody? It's Chris from Against Odds Athletics, and I'm super excited because today we have Paul Fabritz from PJF Performance. Everybody say what's up with Paul. And I guess, Paul, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, just in case they somehow don't know about you.
Yeah, so I do mainly NBA performance training. Have a lot of NBA clients, but I also train pro dunkers. I'll do a little bit of NFL too. I started off in Arizona, kind of similar to like your story of I was obsessed with jumping. I took my vertical to the next level, got it up in the 40s. I was a basketball player, and then I realized like my gift is actually on the training side, not on the court. And so I ran with that, and I just started training people in the community. Like you mentioned, you got your stuff in the car, driving around. I had my Vertec in the car. I got my weights, I got my bands in my car, and I'm just driving house to house. I was sneaking into apartment gyms and just training kids. I was doing a lot of it for free just because I knew I needed the experience. And so I did that. I worked at LA Fitness. I made $6 a session there. And at some point I was like, I need something more.
There has to be a different way,
There
right?
has to be a different way. I was, just to make a living, I mean, I'm out there 10 hours, 8-10 hours a day. So I actually, during that time to pay my rent, I was writing little fitness articles. There's a little content mill, and they would give you a topic, and they'd be like, talk about fat loss, and you would have to go write an article about fat loss. You made $30 an article, so I was just pumping out articles just to make a living. But yeah, I just started, I opened up my own gym. I kind of shared space in Tempe, Arizona, and started with kids in the community, and it just started going viral within Arizona. People started traveling to get to me because of the results, and then NBA players started finding out about me. Luckily, Instagram had just come out, and so I started posting every day, ball handling tip or vertical jump tip, every single day. Never took a day off. And NBA players started finding me. One guy came out after he tore his ACL in the NBA, came out and trained with me and put 7 inches on his vertical and made it back into the NBA. And from there, just that circle started talking, and it just started kind of going viral within the league. And then GM's agents started finding me, and they're like, we love you, want you to train our players, but you can't be in Arizona. You need to come out to California. So they moved me out here, opened up a gym in Anaheim, and I had a lot of success there. And then recently moved out here and built out my whole gym in my house, all in one.
Yeah, no, this place is beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Goals.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm sure you get this in your DMs over and over again, but everybody always wants to know what's the magic exercise. How do you increase your vertical jump, and what's the one best exercise? Is there a best exercise? What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, you're right. That's the number 1 question I get is like, well, what's the best, or what's the top 3? And I get so annoyed because over and over again I have to tell people there is not one secret. It's not that simple. I would much rather teach people principles so that they can figure it out on their own. Like, teach principles, not just methods, not just exercises. Teach them like the important qualities to build. Teach them about the importance of building like elasticity in the tendons, improve rate of force development, and max force in the muscles. And so teach like in principles. Once people understand that, they can start to find the exercises that work best. And there's not any one exercise for everybody. Depends on your body type. Like we talked about today, like you're a very different jumper than a lot of the other pro dunkers that I train. So the best exercise for you would actually be very different than for them.
Right.
So it depends on your goals. It depends on your body type. It depends on your training age, right? Like what's best for the pro dunker, the NBA player might not be best for the 12-year-old. And so it kind of depends where you're at in your career. But I would say there's a couple things that you have to do to become an elite jumper. You need 2 out of 3 factors, and those factors are 1, early childhood development. You mentioned you were out playing on the trampoline, playing multiple sports, like just an active kid. You cannot miss that. Some people miss out on that window before age 12. It's really hard to make up for that later on.
That's training, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's training.
Yeah, that is training before age 12 is play, free play, multiple sports. So that is factor number 1 that every good athlete that I've ever trained did, was they were very active as a kid. Number 2 is going out and jump, like doing the task itself, right? So like mostly that's a low rim dunking. Every great dunker that I've ever heard of grew up on low rims. And so that's low rim dunking, gradually raising it up. if you want to become an elite sprinter, you got to have X amount of sprinting, you know, like do the task. And then 3 is genetic components. So that can be your fast twitch fiber, you know, you're more on the fast twitch side. That can be, you know, leg lengths, that can be where the muscle actually inserts on the bone, that could be tendon length. There's a lot of different genetic factors, but that does play a big role as well. But I have found that people who I determine do not have great genetics can still be really good jumpers. I think even without great genetics, you could still become a 40-inch jumper from an approach with enough jump practice and that early childhood development. So I always look at things in terms of those 3 things to become like world class. So you want to have 2 of those. Ideally, you're going to have all 3 of those. And then on top of that is the additional training that we do later on in our career.
Right.
And that's going to come down to improving max force, so that's our strength, improving rate of force development, how quickly we can produce that force. So that would be your in-between stuff, your med ball throws, your weighted jumps, your trap bar jumps. Some people like to do Olympic lifting, that kind of stuff. That's kind of that in-between rate of force development zone. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is the high velocity. That's the plyometrics.
Right.
And so, you know, if you have those, your max force, your in-between zone, your rate of force development, and then your max velocity through your plyometrics, I think you're going to be in a good place to succeed. Now, based on your assessment, people will vary. Some people need more on the high velocity, more plyometrics, and very little strength. Some people need way more strength, especially early on in their career. They might need more strength with a little bit less plyos. But like I said, it depends on your genetics and your training age and your goals.
Love that.
There's definitely no one size, you know, one exercise is the best.
So stop asking.
Stop asking. But they won't stop asking. It's going to keep coming.
Awesome. So that was a lot to unpack. I love what you were talking about. Basically, like, give them a fishing pole, right? Instead of just a fish, where you kind of teach them the principles and go, here's the guidelines, now go figure out exactly what you need to do within that framework.
Yes.
And
yeah, and you're giving somebody a blueprint, and it's like within that blueprint, you need to figure it out. At the end of the day, you're your best trainer. I am my best trainer. They are their best trainers. Like, we can give them advice and give them that blueprint, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of trial and error, and there's going to be a lot of them figuring it out on their own, and them being like, maybe I'll do less volume on this day and more, because like that can come from listening to the body. Look, we do force plate testing. We'll do omega wave testing, heart rate variability, and all this stuff to find out, is an athlete ready to train or not. But at the end of the day, the #1 measurement is still, hey, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And I can't feel for you. So no matter how much money I spend on this equipment, it'll always come back to how you feel. And so the better you develop that intuition with yourself, the better you're going to be.
Yeah, I feel like that comes down to people wanting just to be told what to do, and this is what you have to do exactly. And I try to stress, we coaches give you the framework, but we're not in your mind. There's no one size fits all program, so you can't just, oh, I'm gonna blast through because it says I have to do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, you know, if your body is your body is smarter for what you need than just a general program that is going out to multiple people. That's not a strictly customizable program. So.
Yeah, and a good thing to do, because a lot of the younger guys, like, it's going to take time to develop that intuition of like, when do I go hard, when do I pull back? That takes time, that takes trial and error. But my thing, especially with vertical jump training, is you think of it as a freezing cold pool. You don't want to automatically jump in it. You don't know if it's going to freeze over. You don't know if it's safe. Dip your toe in, and then you dip in a little more, and then you dip your whole leg in, and then you gradually step in. That's vertical jump training, where if I were to give you a program and it says do 3 sets, do 1. Like, don't do all 3. Like, do 1 set and then check in and like, how did that make my body feel? How do I feel the next day? Did that cause knee pain the next day? If the answer is no, then the next set maybe you do 2, and then the next time you do it, maybe you do 3. And you're gradually easing your way in. Instead, most people just go all in from day one, and they spike their workload too much, and then you got these little overuse injuries, and that sets back your career quite a bit.
And the body doesn't like these fast changes, right? It likes just a nice, slow, steady to build up to that. Like, we get injured or we increase our injury risk when we just go from that 0 to 100.
Significantly. I mean, 80% of Achilles tendinopathies cases can be linked back to a previous spike in workload. So the majority of overuse injuries, you can always link back to like, oh, I spiked up my workload too quick. Now, a lot of people think of doing too much. It's not necessarily doing too much. We look across different populations. There's humans that accomplish amazing things. Think about how much you jump and your body's not broken, right? You're building. We don't wear, cars wear and tear. We wear and repair. So people are doing amazing things. People are out there running marathons, and people are running insane mileage every day, late into their 70s or their 80s. You got, have you ever seen the Maasai warriors?
Yes.
Maasai warriors.
Oh, of course.
They're out there every day.
That is insane.
Doing pogo jumps. So if the theory that, oh, you're just doing too much, if that were true, these people would be broken. That's not it. It's we're doing too much too soon.
Right.
So you're trying to accomplish the volume that they got over years of gradually building up to. So people think of overtraining and they're like, I'm just doing too much. 90% of the time, it's just you did too much too fast. You want to build up to that point over several months or several years.
Yep. You mentioned before the genetic component of vertical jump, and I guess how to increase your vertical jump and how much of that matters. That's such a big topic. To what should athletes get discouraged or think so much about genetics? And I guess I see a lot of people, I guess, using that as an excuse, and it frustrates me a little bit because I feel like it's, at the end of the day, what does it matter? I mean, just go build.
Yeah. Either way, we just want to go in the right direction.
Yeah.
Whether we have the genetics to go improve by 15 inches or by 2 inches, the 2 inches is a lot better than what you have, right?
Exactly.
And you built a resilient body in the process of training. So like, why wouldn't we do that? But, don't tell me that you have bad genetics if you're 20 years old, because you haven't even physically fully matured yet. Some people don't get their first dunk until 23, 24, 25. And personally, I've played basketball my whole life. I didn't get one dunk in high school. And so it wasn't until like kind of sophomore year of college, I think I was around maybe junior year even. So either way, like regardless of your genetics, just work hard, work consistent, and see where it takes you, because it might take you to a place you could have never imagined. But at worst, then you got a little bit better and your body got more resilient and you stayed in shape. So it's like the downside is so good.
Exactly. So like, why focus so much on it and let it negatively affect you? And your mindset is almost everything, right? Like
right.
How you approach things, So I mean.
And one more thing to add there is like, some people are doing training and they don't see a huge change, so they think it's worthless. I recently looked at a study that suggests the plyometrics you do before age 22 sets up your bone health when you're 80, which is crazy. Wow. Because think about it, we're supposed to lose 4% per decade of bone density. And so by the time you're 70, 80, we have much more brittle bones. That process is going to happen. We are going to lose bone density as we age. But before age 22, when you're most adaptable, if you reach the top of the mountain where your bone mass and bone density is really, really high, it's such a gradual decline. So now I can do that 4% decline, and I'm still going to be good at 80, 90, which is going to help me be active. That's going to help me live a happier life, healthier life late. And in plyometrics, even just they've done studies on landing from a jump, doing drop jumps. From a bone density and bone mass standpoint, it's like the best thing we can do. So even if you're not gaining, you got to understand you're building resilience now and for the future you.
Right. Be patient. Some big takeaways I think are, be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't look at the Maasai warriors and try to do exactly what they're doing, because you're just going to get hurt. And also reminds me of a quote from one of my coaches playing Division I football for University of Buffalo is, strive for perfection, hoping to hit greatness along the way.
Yes, right? Yes, exactly. And don't always get so obsessed with jump height. If that's your goal, great, but let's also look at the other side of things of like, I'm training, I'm improving my body composition, I'm improving my knee health, I'm improving my quality of life later in life. So you got to look at the other benefits too, because sometimes you're not going to progress like this. You're going to progress like this, and then you're going to have a huge drop and then a spike. And so if you can't mentally make it through those peaks and valleys, you're not going to make it long term. So you got to focus on the positives and the other things that you're doing in training as well.
I love that. Like the stock market, right? Buy the dip.
Yes.
Buy the dip.
Yes.